And I guess we are pretty much live, I guess. Yes, now we are live. Hello, everyone. This is another week, and this is another Treksphere Live with your host, James. Hi, James.
And who's gone black?
Things gone black.
Oh, I love it.
Well, are we talking about the how can we say that, the clothing and apparel of choice of Section 31?
Okay.
Well, how's everyone?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Good.
I've had a really good day. I'm on vacation because I work for school, so I really can't complain.
Yeah.
But
Snow
I
day?
beat three of my video games that I just recently had unlocked for me, and now it's like, what am I going to do for the rest of the week?
Read books.
Oh, blasphemy. Just kidding. Don't listen to me. Books are good.
Yeah, actually, here's some schools closed because the roof fell under the crushing pressure of the snow. Not a lot, though, but still a few schools had to force down because of that, because of last week's Stormageddon. Like twice in a week was
Okay.
lots of snow.
Maybe it was just my browser. I can see now.
Yes.
Sorry. I was just like, I can't see anything.
The awkward starts of a live show. It's always like a live streaming. It's like, okay, like everyone shares the live stream on their stream, and like everything working. Awkward silences.
So, how should we begin this?
Well,
I believe on the list it was a review of last week's Discovery episode.
yes.
Yeah, it just felt like one giant trip to me. Like from the moment it started to like kind of like the end. You know,
Yeah.
'cause it was all like. I also got like an Alice in Wonderland vibe from it as well, with like Tilly being Alice and having to go and fight the monster. But that was just me.
Yeah. No, I can see the parallels to be drawn there. I honestly, I didn't actually feel very like that, but I did feel, though, it was like a very, like, I didn't feel like we're three stories into one show. I felt like this week specifically, like it was one long story. Because one thing you can say about the previous episodes, you can always feel the A and B and C plots, but here they felt kind of seamless. And I really appreciated that.
It definitely had a movie type vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was it definitely had a way of pulling on the heartstrings in a few parts.
God. Don't talk. A lot of people were like at the moment where the hand was pulled, like in the cube, and you saw that Culber like might not make it. It's like I almost had a heart attack. It's like, no, you can't. It's like I knew. It's like, again, they're playing with my conscious and subconscious. Like, I know they wouldn't do that. That they wouldn't like let the character die after saying that they would bring him back and so on and so forth. But my heart stopped for a second there, and like 5 seconds later, I said the cocoon, and then like May was like the cocoon, and everyone's like the cocoon, and then I was and then. But then again, it has had an interesting way of playing with our expectations of what would happen, and they kind of defied all of them this week, and I'm really happy to have that they have shattered those. Because let's be honest, bringing someone back from the dead is a tall order. And
well, yeah, I mean, it's like I said to you, isn't it? That I really hope they don't do it with space magic, and they kind of did. So, I mean,
it wasn't snap a finger, Q brought him back. It was,
they tried,
a little more complex than that.
They tried to science it out, and I honestly still feel better about that than about the Search for Spock movie. Let's base our whole movie around a 2-second scene when you said one word, just because we want to, again, it's like back in 82, they couldn't assume the choice they made to kill off Spock, so they chose to find a way out and to try to cheat their way out, to leave the door open. And so they did. And as much as I can like the movie, I mean, it still makes zero sense to be able to download your whole brain into someone else's brain in, like, with the touch of a finger,
There was something I was reading earlier, actually, that, what was it? If you had, I think it was done by, sometimes I can't find it now.
Yeah, you find the one article you want to read later, and you forget to hit the save button, and you got to dig through 7 hours, 7 hours worth of posts.
Yeah. Basically, it was like saying that if you have a problem with the way they brought back Culber, then you should have an issue with Search for Spock, because it was kind of like a reanimated corpse type thing.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they did science it out a little bit with the Search for Spock, but it was a big reach, the whole movie. Although, let's be honest, we don't watch the Search for Spock for the Search for Spock. We watch it for the final journey of the original Enterprise. At this point, anyway.
At this point, anyway.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert, the Enterprise gets blown up. But
no shit.
At this point, it's been around for so long. We don't watch it to see, Spock's coming back, yay! We watch it to see the final adventure of the Enterprise, and I'm okay with that. But bringing Dr. Culber back, the way they did it, they could have handled it a lot worse.
Yep.
They really could have, and the way the actors went about doing the scenes, it was believable. It wasn't, cheesy over the top 60s acting. Oh wait, did I just diss on TOS?
Sacrilege.
Says the gent that's always like, I don't really like TOS that much.
Yeah, thanks. This sucks.
Yeah, I mean, if one thing that helped the suspension of disbelief in this episode was really the acting. I think Mary Wiseman really shined in her role
as Tilly. Absolutely.
This week. I mean, the way she was really angry when she got out of the cocoon, and because we never really got to see her in that kind of, really angry kind of mental state, and it, felt it, it's like total incomprehension and like, what the hell am I doing here? And I'm gonna do something to you, and and again, like Patrick Stewart would say, acting.
Mary Wiseman did, she is Tilly. There's no other way to describe it. I don't think I've seen her in anything else, although I haven't checked her IMDb page. But
she's relatively young, so she when she started Discovery, she just got out of acting school, so her career is just starting.
Okay, but Tilly did what Tilly does. Rambled and overreacted big time, and there was no hesitation behind it whatsoever. You couldn't tell if there was any kind of holdbacks in her acting ability at all. But this was definitely her moment to shine, and I think she definitely pulled it off.
Mm-hmm. And yeah.
I mean, I have to admit, I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like the way that she's progressed in the character. It seems to be, well, for me anyway, that every episode that focuses on her, you find out a little bit more about her, and that kind of thing. So I'm kind of enjoying, and her humor as well, I think, is something that even in the series 1, it was there.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's awkward and quirky humor, but when it's, extremely over the top and you can't help but laugh, we all know what I'm talking about. That pissed off so many people. It works.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think, good acting all around. Also, people seem to have really liked the interactions between Burnham and Georgiou. And the way Burnham acted, and just the little phase, the little scene with the phaser, and how she wouldn't put it down, and all the way through that, they really play well. I mean, both Sonequa and Michelle, really play well together, and it really shows. Although I do find the monologues at the start of the episodes a little bit tedious, but I can get over that. But I think they try to bring some kind of grounding, or I don't know what they tried to do with those monologues, but I kind of find them a little bit overbearing. But
What you mean, take on like what would normally be a captain's log?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just like they try to be a little too poetic and too on the nose about like faith and everything, and I don't know. But again,
the thing is, it's not a captain that's writing it. The captain has to be super pomp and circumstance and official in their logs, because somebody higher up the food chain is going to be reading them. Whereas this is what's Burnham's role anyway at this point? She's not the XO.
No, she's a science officer basically.
She's the chief science officer basically, and she can be a little bit more open because of she's not the captain. Mm-hmm. She's not the executive officer. So she could be a little more open with what she writes, but she's also the chief science officer, or that's what.
Or science officer, or just like, we can assume, but.
Yeah. So she can be a little bit more in depth and, poetic with what she says, because it's in a scientist's nature, at least from what I've seen, to over-explain and put an artistic twist on everything. So it fits with the role that she's given. It may seem monotonous, but it does fit.
Yeah.
See, I've never really had a problem with it, because when we first were introduced to her and she did her first officer's log and that sort of thing, it kind of felt right. And then when there wasn't really any of those throughout the first series, I think there was like 1 or 2 where she did her own log and that kind of thing. I don't know. I felt that was kind of missing, but then that might be because I was used to that.
Yeah, I think we all were. But as I said, it's just like, I don't know. As I said, it doesn't feel all natural. Like, I wouldn't put that in my personal journal. Like, I wouldn't. But then again, it's a TV show and everyone's a writer. Like, in the writer's room, everyone's a writer. So I guess they can put words together better than you or I could in a personal log for a character. So, it's just like, it doesn't. I don't know.
No, I know what you're trying to say. It kind of, I think,
it could be
we're still not used to it.
It could be handled a little better, but It's not like opening scene. It's the middle of a rap song.
Oh yeah, I mean, there are always ways it could be worse, especially if you give into the fan wank, and I love that word. I absolutely love that word.
Fan wank.
And you know exactly what I mean by that.
Oh, of course I do.
But yeah, I'm a firm believer in don't give in too much to the fans, and that's all right. And it's part of the compromise to have a quality show. I mean, gotta do a few things differently. So, and I guess that's part of it. Maybe if we get Burnham as a captain someday, like who knows? We might have the actual proper captain's log, or if we get maybe a Pike, Pike's Enterprise TV show. But for now,
it would be nice to see that. Yes, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing more Pike as Captain of Discovery. He's doing a good job so far.
Yeah,
Anson, not Pike. Anson's doing a good job with Pike. I mean. I'd like to see both. You know what I mean? It's like the actor's doing good as Pike, and Pike is doing a good job on the ship.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, the Enterprise could be in refit for like 5 years or something, and just like nothing is said.
They've got to replace the fancy stuff with the gummy buttons.
There you go. That takes a while. The contractors charge too much, and then you gotta try to find someone else. But then they're doing a sloppy job, and you gotta start from the start. And that's what that's how it works.
I mean, I know this season's supposed to link up with canon. God, I hate that word. But I just don't see how they're going to do it in the way that people expect. Does that make sense?
I understand. I think
I don't understand how they're gonna suddenly introduce.
They'll pull a Battlestar Galactica on it, and we were technologically advanced, and then we had to revert for some reason.
Nah, I think what they meant by that is we're gonna remove all of Brian Fuller's weirdness. And that's
you really think? Because obviously, a lot of people have been saying, that he's to blame for a lot of.
And as far as I know, and as far as what I've read, like the most controversial ideas are his.
Really?
So, yeah. Especially for the Klingon redesign.
Yeah, but then if you look at those, they're not too far off what Gene Roddenberry and I can't remember the bloke's name had for the motion picture.
Yeah, but then again, you're talking sense and reason. That doesn't go through with most people online. No, but I agree, and especially the weirder ideas often are from like having like the famous quote unquote hollow simulation. I mean, it's part of what was imagined for TOS, but they didn't have the budget for, and was introduced in TAS. But then again, fans will pick and choose what they want and like.
Canon versus fanon versus headcanon.
There you go, and it's a little something that I want to introduce today is. There's a lot of that. I mean, people have, one of the biggest mistakes Star Trek has done, in my opinion, was trying to explain the Klingon, the Klingon forehead thing. What was supposed to be a nod, a wink, or an Easter egg in Trials and Tribulation in DS9.
Ended up being a complete two-parter, didn't it? In Enterprise.
Well, what I mean is, by just winking at it, like they introduced the idea that there was an actual change, that the budget thing, like that we didn't have enough money to do proper Klingons back in the 60s, was not an valid excuse anymore. And I feel like the pressure, like they opened a Pandora's box that they felt compelled to resolve by the end when they knew Enterprise was going to get canceled. Like I feel like they felt the need to explain it before the show would be gone. And then what they did with after that with the mirror, the Enterprise mirror universe thing, and again it's by introducing the like TOS bridge, and it's all made out of love. I understand, but those are winks, nods, Easter eggs, things to please the fans. Those were there just for the sake of 1 or 2 episodes, not for the whole run of a series.
Mm.
And if fans can't accept the fact that, not the fact, but the difference between, history, fictional history and visual redesign. And there's canon, and then there's what do they call it? There's
Well, I think Wikipedia, the wiki pages has it quite right. You've got Memory Alpha, which is devoted to pure on-screen canon, what's seen, and and what. And then you've got Memory Beta, which is all the books, comics, games, the kind of soft non-canon type aspects of it. And I think people tend to blur the lines, or it appeared in the books or in the comics, or it appeared in the game, so it's got to be canon, or people completely disregard that and then say like they bring up their own wiki, which I think there is one called Wiki Delta or something, which is headcanon, which basically means people use it.
I mean, I'll give you one example, like one I saw this week, the famous badges on the shirts of the Starfleet uniforms in TOS.
Oh, the deltas again.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to use that as an example. The whole chart, and actually it is in the book that's standing right behind me, the Franz Joseph's technical manual. That book, as much as you love it, is not canon. It is. And when people bring that up to try and diss on Discovery, they use information that's coming from a source that is not official, that is not canon. Well, basically, any resource that is not an actual TV show or movie is not canon. It's all canon until proven otherwise. And then there's this famous memo saying like Starfleet has the deltas. And the only reason the Antares had a different badge is because it was a merchant fleet. Please don't do that again. It was sent to William Ware Theiss, who was a costume designer, and apparently that memo got lost, and they kept doing different badges. But, to me, I will always go with the producer's intent. First of all.
Well, I mean, even if, say, like, for argument's sake, people could... they bring that up and everything like that. Well, the Discovery badge is different to the Enterprise Delta.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean,
but not every ship doesn't have a different badge, which actually makes no sense at all. Why would Starfleet go through the effort of designing thousands and thousands of badges for each and every ship they have? Makes no sense in a logistical way. I could understand like maybe different badges for like I could compromise with different badges for Constitution class ships, given that how they have different uniforms or something.
Yeah, I mean that's
there are ways to compromise, and I think the writers really play in that gray canon area. And people say, "Oh, the tech is so advanced," but is it really? I mean, we've seen phasers, photon torpedoes, transporters, like nothing so different other than visually. Nothing so different from TOS. I mean, even there, like the TOS Here, I have one here. A TOS communicator is actually smaller than the one in in Discovery. So,
are we talking the cage communicator? Or are we talking?
No, I'm talking about proper TOS communicator.
Okay, proper TOS. Okay.
Oh yeah,
because the cage one, that was freaking huge.
Oh yeah, and it had like radio transistors in it. But yeah, it's visual canon and actual canon to it's all different, and
it's honestly open to interpretation for what you see, what you read, and what you hear.
One of the best things I've seen.
Unfortunately, people don't, at least in my experience, don't have the ability to compromise anymore on anything. It has to be this way or the highway. Mm-hmm. And you gotta, to stay true to Trek form, there's always a compromise and there's always a way out. It's not always black and white. And we've seen that throughout all the different series that have been out so far. And not to, go on a totally different side tangent, but, Christian Lewis just asked a question in the chat. Will Discovery coexist with the new timeline or the old?
They've stated repeatedly it is technically prime timeline. It's just a different look, a different visual.
Yes, you don't want to be saying that because of those YouTubers out there.
Like if you played any games or if you played any mods on games, just imagine there's a new skin. It's just a skin. It's just a new set of textures, basically. Same core, same engine. It's just like
the perfect example to include Star Trek. Just going on with mods. Sins of a Solar Empire, Star Trek Armada 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It takes Sins of a Solar Empire and turns it into Star Trek. It's got the same core of Sins of the Solar Empire with some tweaks, but it's mostly visual. But it's still the same core. Mm-hmm. Just so for people that don't play games, they understand what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And I honestly
is, you've got to seriously ask yourself this. There's a lot of YouTubers, and I'm going to bring them into it because they're the ones that seem to perpetuate all these rumors and everything like that. That they seem to think just because something looks different, it doesn't seamlessly coexist and stuff like that. You've got to seriously ask yourself, if you were to see something in the same sort of like ilk as TOS in 2019, would you watch it?
No, are you asking that in general, or can we answer that us on stream?
Well, you can answer it because
well, for if we can answer it, then immediately I will say yes, because technically we already have, if we've watched Star Trek Continues. Mm-hmm. It might have been a fan production of the TOS, which had an established look, but it was still, what was it, 2015 to 2018? No, 2015 to 2017. That they had their run, and it looked the way it was supposed to look. It could have been totally different in appearance, but it was still modern times, and it still looked like the 60s. And I can say I officially watched it, and I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Same here, but as you said, it looked like the 60s. You will if somehow you would get CBS to do like they would go to the original series set tour and they would film a whole season's worth of episodes there. People will not take Star Trek seriously. I'm not talking about the hardcore fans like you or I. I'm talking about the general sci-fi fan who watches, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica. Is not like a dedicated Star Trek fan, because we have to remember that Star Trek has to appeal to the fans, yes, but mostly also has to appeal to the middle ground or to other people.
This is true. I will concede that fact, but there could be a way of, making it look 60s and still appeal to the modern day consumer. I'd like to reference a show called Ascension. It only had one season, but it did have quite a bit of a following while it was running.
Mm-hmm.
And it massively looked like it took a step out of the Cold War, because that's technically when the show started.
I mean,
but
that was part of the story too.
They could have done a whole sci-fi angle on it and said, "Oh, it started in the '60s, but we were massively, ahead of our time, and that's why it looks super sci-fi, even though it technically launched in the '60s."
I think because I watched that and I was a bit bummed that they cancelled it. To be honest with you,
yes,
it was a backdoor palette more than anything else.
The thing that I think made that kind of work was the fact that it was mixed in with modern day. So you had the aesthetics of the '60s, but you also had the modern day look to it as well, so people could connect the two. Now, I mean, another example of how they've remade something is Lost in Space.
Yes. Okay.
You see what I mean? If people and then the same sort of fans came out, and said, "Oh, well, I don't like it because it's too this, too that." But the thing is, like it or not, if you're over the age of 30, you're not the demographic that they look at. You know, 18 to 30 is the demographic that they want to draw in as many new people as they can.
And one of the reasons...
I don't want to say it, but to milk the franchise. Because those 18 to 30s will then be 30 to 60 people, and then when those fans become our age, it then goes back to the whole fact that those fans will be the ones that are complaining about anything new. It is a vicious circle, but it's a case of you can't have something new in 2019 and make it look like it wasn't made.
You can have nods. You can, like Enterprise. What Enterprise did, it was like a giant twink for the whole, like an episode and a half with the Mirror Universe thing. It worked because it was, an
episode and a half.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a whole series. It was a whole show.
But then even if Enterprise, in some respects, was way more advanced than the looks and feel of TOS.
And people got over it after a while, but... I think
which is going to probably happen the same with Discovery. People are going to get into season 3 or maybe even season 4 and be like, okay, why did I argue this? I feel like an absolute moron. It's happened with every single Star Trek series prior to this.
But honestly, to be honest, the reason the Discovery looks like it does is really because of the J.J. Abrams movies. CBS saw what Paramount did and say, hey, we want that. We want to do that. One, because those movies got people, I look on Twitter and I look online, a lot of people got into Star Trek thanks to those movies. As much as other people can hate on those, they got new people on board with the franchise. So
absolutely,
it would really be destabilizing for those fans. Like, you got into Star Trek with, let's say, Into Darkness or Star Trek 2009, all right? So you're used to the slick, and I mean, you've watched some of the older Star Trek, but maybe more the DS9 or Voyager or Enterprise. I see a lot go directly to Enterprise before anything else, and
watch it in chronological order.
in universe chronological order. So it'd be really jarring for them. I'm talking, and I have my like TV executive hat, even though and you go like, oh well, people got in thanks to that franchise, thanks to that movie franchise, even though we didn't produce it. People are now expecting that from Star Trek, and I think they wanted to play to
right.
those.
I mean, at the end of the day, I've just pulled up the numbers now, and those 3 Star Trek films are the biggest money-making films in Star Trek history.
Mm-hmm.
Even more than First Contact and Wrath of Khan, the best of the bunch.
Yeah.
For prime example, Into Darkness, $467,381,000 made. First Contact, $150 million.
Wow. Okay.
So we're talking $500 million for Into Darkness, $386 million, 839,000 for the first Star Trek, and even though people swear it bombed, you can't balk at 335,802,000 for Star Trek Beyond.
Yep. No, same. Although might want to watch for inflation, especially on the older ones, but still.
I mean, if you adjusted it to real world money nowadays, you're probably looking at,
But they would still rank really high, and I'd probably say highest. Because, yeah. Because before that, like, the biggest movie was still Star Trek 4. Like, that's because, again, they tried to get people.
Actually, no, it wasn't. Before the next gen films, the motion picture was the highest grossing film at 139 million.
It makes sense because it's the motion picture. Oh, Star Trek's going to be a movie. I can understand why that made the most.
But yeah. So again, it's people. We as fans tend to see what we want, what we need, but reality is they are just normal people who just want to watch, a TV show, or a streaming show in this case. And
which people are going to get their wish. They wanted a TV show. Granted, it's not going to be exactly what they wanted. Hello, we're putting Star Trek on Nickelodeon. It's going to be on TV.
That's where the animated series actually first aired.
Yes, but people are getting their wish. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
but then
I won't lie. I am interested in seeing it.
Oh, well, as fans, and even the most anti-Discovery fans, they won't see it, but they're gonna watch it. Because they're gonna have to get all those juicy, those juicy facts or things to complain about, and to have something to complain about, you're gonna have to watch it.
Of course.
I actually want to go ahead and answer Christian's question in the chat, which is, so what will be the new Picard synopsis? We don't know yet as far as storyline goes. All we know is that it's being set 19 years after
TNG, I think.
Yes, oh crap, I forgot the name of the episode, but the final episode of Next Generation. Yes, All Good Things. The final episode of the TNG series, 19 years after that.
And he won't be a captain anymore, basically.
We also do know that he will be the events of Star Trek 2009, Destruction of Romulus, will play a big part in it as well.
Yes.
Which is the only prime part
event
of the of those.
And if
films.
you want some interesting parts, you might want to read Star Trek Countdown, the comic book that was released as a kind of prequel to tie-in to the 2009 movie, which was co-written by Alex Kurtzman. Mm-hmm. So he might want to reuse a lot of his ideas.
Absolutely. But the other things that we do know or about the show.
Well, he did say recently that it's going to be binge worthy.
It's going to be binge worthy. And that I believe I read somewhere that they already have enough material written for 3 seasons worth of it.
Maybe not written, but maybe planned.
Well, written as down, on like a notepad or something like that. They've got like enough ideas written down for 3 seasons worth of story. As far as the other cast members of TNG or people from Discovery or anything like that somehow crossing over, we have no idea about that. Nothing else, nothing specific. Just a handful of tidbits that have been put out by Patrick Stewart and CBS.
He's been on an interview craze these last few days because I've seen a lot of him popping about in different interviews. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's been it's for his remake of the modern day version of King Arthur type thing.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest with you, looks awful. But a lot of people obviously are covering that and then bringing up Star Trek. And he's kind of like
Oh, got some interesting news coming. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just about to segue into that. Since we're talking about, the Picard series and, Trek news, I believe that's the next segue we need to get into for this live stream is Trek news.
Yeah, well, actually, something exciting news. We got the titles of the next 5 episodes officially. So episode 207, so next week, will be Light and Shadows. Episode 208 is going to be If Memory Serves for March 7th. Oh, and episode 209, Project Daedalus. That's an interesting keyword there. March 14th. Episode 210, The Red Angel, March 21st. And episode 211, Perpetual Infinity, March 28th. So that's going to be interesting. I actually like the Project Daedalus. It's going to be the one directed by Jonathan Frakes. And those who might not know, Daedalus is actually, again, it's kind of not 100%. It's like there's the Daedalus class ship that we've seen like as a model, I think, in Benjamin Sisko's office, which is supposed to be like a really old Starfleet vessel, which kind of like the Pastor, the Beverly Crusher ships in it's kind of like an older version of that. Then again, we never got like any kind of on-screen confirmation that was a Daedalus class, but it was based on some old Matt Jeffries sketches for what would have been the Enterprise, and it kind of got adopted by fandom to the point where it got to be a model in some ready room. So it might be that. It might be something totally different. Who knows? But also, Daedalus was also the name of a Star Trek Enterprise episode, which was kind of meh. It was when we met Emery Dickinson, the inventor of the transporter. And
yes.
And actually, if you look at Discovery's opening credits this season, when they show the transporter pad like being deconstructed in the intro scene, you see like the name of Emery Dickinson in the corner. They're kind of like as designed by or like invented by. An interesting thing. So a nice little wink there. In French, we say a clin d'oeil, a wink. So that's why I say that instead of Easter egg. It comes more naturally to me. Sorry. But yeah, that's the most interesting name. Otherwise, the Red Angel is pretty on the nose. And Perpetual Infinity, I gotta say, leaves a lot to be interpreted. So, yeah.
I just really hope that it's nothing to do with time travel. Because
he's just had enough of temporal mechanics.
Well, it's not even so much that it's a thing done to death in Trek, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
to a point, yeah. I mean, I could tolerate maybe 1 or 2 time travel episodes total, but let's not do a TLS where it was time travel at least 3 times.
Let's casually travel through time and not mentioning it ever again.
Yeah, and then you've got that entire thing with Voyager, Year of Hell, which actually, to be honest with you, if
that was one of the better time travel episodes.
You see, Rick Berman and Michael Piller wanted that to be an entire season arc, and Jerry Taylor shot it down and said no, because she was one of the executives.
Are you sure that wasn't Rick Berman that shut it down? Because that seemed like the kind of thing that Rick Berman would shut down. Because
I remember, to be honest with you, I haven't read into it in years,
I know,
but I just remember it's supposed to be an entire series arc.
Yeah.
I could have actually...
I heard... Yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
But, I heard the same thing. It just because I also know for a fact that Rick Berman wanted Voyager to be an episodic show, so it'd be easier to sell to TV stations, so they wouldn't have to run it in order all the time. So it'd be, bring more people to the screen. And DS9 kind of got away with it because Rick Berman was really so attached to Voyager that he kind of you go ahead and DS9 got away with it.
Yep, DS9 did a good job at it. But as far as Year of Hell being its own season arc, I could have actually tolerated that. That would just because of how much they crammed into 2 episodes. I could only imagine if they had the budget and the time to do a whole arc based on Year of Hell. It would have been.
I think it was phenomenal. More. Yeah, it would have been. First of all, and I honestly think it wasn't a question of budget or time. I think it was a question of balls.
Yeah, I mean, I can't find.
Because
on Memory Alpha now, but yeah.
To me, Voyager is a series of missed opportunities, again and again and again. A whole bunch of woulda, coulda, shoulda.
And it was good, but it had its moments where it could have been better.
But then you had the Maquis are fine and dandy after 4 episodes. Let's not talk about it ever again unless it or subplot or something, or an episode where there's a holographic revolution or something. But it didn't play much into the show. Now they made a big thing. Actually, from what I understand, they brought up the Maquis in DS9 and in TNG to ramp up to Voyager, and because of Voyager, and then Voyager dropped it after a few
dropped
episodes.
It like a bad habit.
There you go. Sorry, my English is not very good, and actually I have. But yeah, so and I can imagine how frustrating it is to for you to be on for you to introduce a subplot because of another show, and then seeing that show drop that subplot, and then you kind of stuck with Although I did like the Maquis, how the Maquis was, and especially Eddington in DS9, but still, I kind of feel for the producers there.
Well, you got to remember that to Eddington's bit of the Maquis, that they were more the fanatical side of it. Mm-hmm. So you kind of get multiple different levels of Maquis throughout the series. So, Eddington's is fanatical. We didn't get to see much of Chakotay's, but given the fact that they integrated so easily into Voyager, I mean, they had to make it quick because first season and all, you don't want to delve on the drama if it's going to be a different episode every week. But you could assume, this is headcanon here, you could assume that his was more of a open to discussion and more open to reintegration than, say, Eddington's faction of the Maquis, because they did operate in cells.
Mm-hmm. And I agree wholeheartedly. Although one thing we can be thankful for about Voyager is Battlestar Galactica. Thanks to Voyager and thanks to the frustrations of Ron Moore during his short stint on that, it kind of pushed him to evacuate all that he couldn't do into Battlestar Galactica. So you're welcome.
It's still ranked in the top 5 sci-fi series of all time.
Yeah.
As I said a few times, other than Star Trek, it's my number 1 favorite show.
So sometimes evacuating your frustrations in a creative way is productive.
Now, I just lost my train of thought. Since we're still, partially on the topic of Trek news, James, what do you got for us?
This week, that CBS All Access hit their target for sign-ups, but it was a mix between All Access and Showtime.
Yeah, I mean, they still hit target, and we're not. It's kind of unclear what the target was, but it's a combined of 8 million subscriptions, which is 2 years in advance of what they expected, which is still very, very good for. Let's be honest, they're kind of a third party, not third party, but lower ranked streaming service compared to Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu. But their partnerships with the NFL and betting on, well, I would say betting on sports, but counting on sporting events and special events to bring people to subscribe and people say, oh, it's a Star Trek streaming service. No, it's, well, yes, there's a whole Star Trek, but there's still there's the Twilight Zone coming, and there's still apparently a very rabid fan base of The Good Fight So again, the Trek fans will only see themselves in this environment when there's still there's a whole lot more to consider when talking about CBS All Access.
I mean, it's a streaming service. Not only do you get Star Trek on there, you can watch Jag, you can watch Hawaii Five-0, you can watch MacGyver. There's a long list of it, but unfortunately. Well, I'm not going to say unfortunately, but let's be fair. All Access wouldn't be as big as it is without Discovery.
And I agree. But that's Netflix went the same route. It was crap when it came out. Especially, like I remember in Canada in 2012, we didn't have that was before they started really betting on original content. Like here in Canada, because of licensing agreements, we got crap. We got a whole lot of B movies, and I know in the States it was maybe like that in earlier years when they started streaming.
Yeah, here in the US when they first started, we got a lot of B movie stuff. We got a lot of B type shows, but within a year and a half of it launching, they already had the rights to multiple different cartoon sites. They had, the first bit of Marvel movies on there. They had, Disney movies. It was, it was a lot more successful in the U.S. than it was anywhere else initially because it is a U.S. created system. So obviously, rights and then
it's kind of backfiring them because now the rest of the world is kind of getting the better end of the sticks on a lot of shows.
Yeah,
and movies.
I mean we get Titans here.
Yeah,
and you get it on. I can't remember what you get it on now.
The DC, it's the DC again, another exclusive like a DC. But that's how they make money. I think that's the new kind of way to go for studios is going to be establish our own streaming service for whatever home field we are in, so they can get 100% of the of the money, and whatever street. Because one thing is you need a whole less. I tried to phrase that correctly. Sorry. You need a lot less eyeballs for your show to be to make its budget when you're on streaming because you're counting on direct revenue, like the payer, the customer or the viewer pays you directly. It doesn't go through advertising bullshit and So there's a direct revenue system there, and the money.
Well, I mean, even nowadays, TV that's on terrestrial TV or cable or whatever you guys get over there, most TV programs here are sponsored.
Yeah.
So you'll have it sponsored by a chocolate bar or sponsored by a whiskey or a sofa shop or something like that on top of standard advertisements. which basically means that that's the only way that these people are able to afford to make these programs.
The only thing that I see nowadays, United States wise, is Hulu. Every once in a while I'm watching, right now I'm binge watching Law and Order SVU. Every once in a while, I pay for the commercial version of it. It'll say this program is sponsored by blah 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 blah, and that's really the only time I ever see sponsored things come up anymore. I don't see it on. We call it cable. I don't see that very often anymore. Just the standardized ads. It's only on the streaming services like Hulu or Amazon Prime that I ever see the sponsored notifications anymore.
You said SVU. You said I gotta say Dickverse.
Dickverse.
The Dickverse.
You see, that's one thing that's kind of different. I don't know how it works in Canada, but in the UK. We have Sky TV, Virgin Media, which is our cable provider. Then we have Amazon Prime and Netflix. And there's one or two other ones, smaller ones out there like Now TV, but that's done by Sky. Then there's BT TV, which is kind of like a amalgamation of them all. But that's why we get everything either on Sky TV or cable. Or we get it on Netflix and Amazon Prime because we don't have these other providers. Like we don't get HBO, don't get Hulu, and stuff like that. So,
in Canada, basically, it's it's all basically all regular TV is all basically kind of like American TV. It's mostly sponsored with by commercials and sponsors and stuff like that. Except for CBC, which is funded by our tax dollars, and ads, so they kind of double dip there. In
America, we have the PBS, Public Broadcast System.
Yeah.
Station, not system. Why did I say system? Derp.
Which is mostly reruns of British shows.
Well,
or used to be.
I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes at the same time because it has been years since I have ever been on PBS. But PBS is funded by not only ads, but tax dollars as well. Yeah, they make it cute for the kids, but for the adults, it's like I'm paying for something I don't really want to pay for it.
But what's more frustrating in Canada about this is that there are news on BBC. So people who don't agree with the news or the political views shown on CBC, they say, my tax dollars are paying this, and then there's the conservative government coming in and they're gonna squeeze the budget for CBC a little bit tighter. We're digressing a little bit, but
in other Trek news, because we need to move on.
I was just about to bring us back to that.
There's come out of the Toy Fair. I think it was held in New York.
A few interesting things.
There's some wicked things. There's I'll put it in the chat room. I want one of these because they are
actually
adorable.
one thing that I saw, because I have those two things here, which is Star Trek Flux. I have the TOS and the TNG versions of Star Trek Flux. If you don't know what it is, you can go see Will Wheaton play Flux in his tabletop web series. But they just announced that they're going to have a DS9 version of Flux for those. So it's basically a game that has no rules until there's a card that says there are rules and you have to meet the goal. And very interesting gameplay, easy to pick up, and so there's going to be a DS9 version of that. So since now we have TNG and TOS, hopefully we're going to get a Voyager version soon, hopefully. But for now, there's going to be a DS9 version of it.
So what I've just shared in the chat stream is from Trek the Movie, and I want some of these plush toys. They look adorable.
Let me go see here.
I haven't even seen it. The first one is a dog in. Oh my god!
But if you scroll down,
yeah, that's
you're finally
kinda
getting
cute.
the Enterprise badge and pins from
Yeah.
Discovery, along with the 3 different variants of the Mirror Universe. And then if you scroll right to the bottom, we're getting some new models by the looks of it. We're getting the NX-01, the Grissom and a Klingon Bird of Prey, the 1701D, and finally a Discovery model.
Interesting thing.
Out of all of those, I'd be getting NX-01 and the D.
The NX-01 actually comes with the parts to do the NX refit for the proposed season 5 in Enterprise, if that's your thing. So,
I likes.
Yeah, it does. Build either the NX-01 or the NX-01 refit.
and you can also have the decals for the mirror if you want to do the mirror version, or I think even NX-02.
So if we wanted to do it proper, we'd need to buy 3 of them.
Yeah.
Technically, yeah.
unless it's one of those snap models. No, it is. It's a snap it right there. So
yeah, it's a snap it. Yeah. So
if it's a snap it one, yeah, I mean, I could see you going between NX-01 and NX-01 refit, no problem. But as soon as you do Mirror Universe, yeah, those decals are really difficult to take off.
Yeah, and not to mention the paint and everything. So
yeah,
that's
it's still like cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, because I'm the fan geek and I like the fan productions, I would get the USS Grissom model and spray paint over the registry and put the registry for the Oberth class ship that's featured in Star Trek Outpost.
Aha.
The USS Chimera.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which I've got to talk about that one night when we do one of these Treksphere things. I got a couple of comments from folks privately about talking about other fan productions. So
juicy.
I should probably talk about another fan production soon. I've got like 3 people on Second Life right now poking at me. When are you going to do another fan production? When are you going to do another fan production?
So quickly going back, because I've just read some more on it, quickly going back onto the CBS All Access hitting their goals. Eventually, there might be a chance of some of the CBS All Access shows arriving on CBS on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be cool. It would give non-subscribers a way to see the stuff that's on there.
Yeah, I mean, they did that for... like here in Canada, like CBC has their own streaming service. Not CBC, but Radio-Canada, the French version of CBC, has their own streaming service. And they kind of premiere whole seasons of a show. And then the next year, it will premiere on TV. So that's kind of their way of...
well, they did that with season 2, didn't they? The season 2 opener, which everyone was like, "Oh, they're giving it away for free. It must be bad."
It was
a teaser.
Yeah, it was.
And I think it was only there for a short amount of time. I think like 3 weeks.
It was, yeah.
Actually, last I checked, it's still up on YouTube.
It should have been taken down last Friday, I think.
Let me just do a quick look.
Because that was, I can't remember this how long it was there for, but it was only there for a specific period of time.
Or supposed to, anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe they forgot about it.
But while Jeff looks that up, we've got...
Nope, it's still here. Season 2 premiere episode. It's still here for free. Yep, I've got it up right now.
Yeah, okay.
In its entirety, there's no purchase button or anything.
So regarding the licensing revenue for CBS, regarding their international deals, they've got a great partnership with Netflix internationally while streaming on All Access. There's still no news on where the Picard show or any others will be streamed outside the US. There's no merger talk, because obviously that's another one. Everyone keeps saying about CBS merging with Viacom again. But it won't be. The CBS Viacom merger will not be considered the end, but rather just one of a number of potential deals that could include mergers or acquisitions with Discovery Networks, Lionsgate, and or Sony Pictures.
That could, Like that could be an interesting thing. Like if they don't remerge with Viacom, but remerge with like another corporate entity, that's gonna that's
There's
gonna
also
bring.
been reporting CBS or CBS merged with some of these entities being scooped by Tech Giant. So basically, there's also talk of them being snapped up by someone like Amazon, Apple, or Verizon, whatever you want to call it.
Ooh, I'm not sure about Apple though, and even Amazon.
The bottom line is the two entities share the Star Trek IP are potentially going to go through some corporate changes in the next few years. So I mean, everyone's like, oh yeah, they should remerge, blah blah blah, and I think one of the favourite ones from the crazy camp is that when they remerge, they're going to get rid of all of Alex Kurtzman's work and go back to 90s Trek. I think that was
of course they won't. Of course, I mean, come on.
That was
again, fan wank.
Fan wank.
It's fan wank. I mean, personally, I love it. But then it's a case of there's only the Trek universe existing. Like CBS is only Star Trek, Paramount is only Star Trek. There's nothing else in the world, and again, it's a very, very narrow view of what could come out and what the executives have to actually deal with. Like, I'm pretty sure the executives don't give that much of a shit about what's prime timeline and what's not. They just want something to bring money into the company, into their pockets. You know, that bottom of the line.
But also, William Shatner's played down any suggestions that he could get his own spin-off, saying he would struggle to do long hours required for a leading role at his age.
Gosh, I don't want to see, as much as I can like Shatner, I mean, his time is done with Star. His time is done. He can do conventions all he wants, but please stay off the screen.
He had his shot at the captain's chair. He's done. He's over with. And Kirk is dead. We're done.
Yeah, exactly. Like he blew his chance with like they tried to get him with Enterprise. Like the whole mirror universe thing was supposed to be, Kirk, like a mirror Kirk that would have been sent by his own Tantalus device, or is it Tantalus device? I think it was called. And instead of killing people, it just sends them to a kind of parallel pocket dimension, and like Enterprise would stumble on that, and the pocket dimension exists outside of time, and like they would have found like an older mirror Captain Kirk, it
just sounds like a real big stretch. And
but like they offered that to him, like, and I think it was just a question of money or something, and he said no. So then we ended up with the Mirror Universe 2-parter, which was, I think, probably the better alternative out of the two. So instead of getting Shatner as a cameo, we got the actual, the TOS bridge set as a cameo instead. I think it's probably a better concession.
Can't really find anything else. I think that's pretty much it for this week.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet in terms of news this week. We got some pictures for next week's episode.
Yeah, I watched them on the page.
Lots of
Oh yeah, you remember last week where I said the bowl or the bowl?
Yeah,
or
the bowl. Yeah,
that they might be an evolved version of the Kelpians.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the trailer for this week?
Yes. Well, and so some people mostly one person online. I think we both know said like might be the Tholians, kind of gooey version of the Tholians, but. I'm not sure about if it's like I kind of recant the evolved Kelpian theory at this point after seeing the trailer. Not sure about that. I don't know about you, but
we've lost Jeff.
Oh, we lost Jeff. Oh no!
For some reason, my Skype has hard crashed.
Maybe his, because wanting him back right now. Let's see. Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
I've been trying to get Skype to come back up for the last 3 minutes, so I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, we're talking about this week's episode. We're talking about the Bowl. If they were like evolved Kelpians, or someone said online that it might be the Tholians, or is it something entirely different?
They gave in the shot they showed what the Bowl looked like.
Yeah.
Oh God. Episode where Tasha Yar got killed.
Skin of
looking thing.
Armus.
Yes. It looks like him.
Yeah, yeah.
It does a bit. Red eyes, but yeah.
Huh?
Said it does, yeah, a bit with red eyes.
Yeah,
like red flowy eyes.
I mean, again, what we keep bringing into the conversation is the difference between 30 years ago and now. That's when I saw the picture of the Bowl. That's the first thing I thought about was that episode of DNG.
Metamucil with black dye in it.
But I could be wrong. It could be Tholians. No, it's not Tholians.
No, it's not. It's just
we've seen what Tholians look like thanks to established canon through Enterprise.
Shocking.
We can't. I mean, we could pull a Brian Fuller and decide to change up the appearance of the Tholians, but
no.
Just quickly,
just because, yeah. So go
addressing
ahead,
Christian's question, do we expect anything from the new anything new from J.J. Abrams? Or
I don't think so. I think J.J. moved on.
The only thing that J.J. is doing right now that we know of is I believe he's doing the next Star Wars movie, but nothing after that. And then
is he involved with the? I think is he involved with the Mission? I know his producing company is involved with Mission Impossible, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but he's not directing. That's somebody else. But no, JJ is returning to direct Star Wars 9, and
they finished shooting, so now they post production.
Oh yeah. Well, it's still part of it. I mean, the director still plays a part of it. But he's still directing that. And as far as Frank's doing big screen stuff, no idea. Let's be fair. The latest that
he's no. I mean, he's directed, or he's going to be directing three episodes this season. He's quite active in directing. That. Well, no, because he did. Lose it now.
He did New Eden. He did.
He's done 2 already this season.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be 2.
Yeah, he's done 2 already this season.
Yeah.
He's done New Eden, and
he's going to do
another one as well.
Yeah, Frakes has done New Eden, and he's going to do the Project Daedalus this year.
Oh, right, okay, so he's done 2 then. But no, I don't. To be honest with you, I don't think there's going to be anything new Star Trek-wise in film for a while. And I know, although a lot of people seem to blame Paramount for this, I have a different view on it. I don't blame Paramount for wanting to try and renegotiate their contracts.
I don't blame the actors also. They seem to have hired every actor that had a rising star back in 2009. Every one of those actors, not a single exception, became A-list. Well, A or A- listers, like Zoe Saldana, Chris Pine, Zachary
the only one. Yeah, you see, I think he's the only one out of all of them that hasn't really.
Yeah, it might be voluntary. Who knows? But he's still kind of high profile. People know him. So, and I think that's big. And they kind of went in a reverse. I think they knew what they were going after in terms of casting back in 2008. And I think kind of bit them in the ass 10 years later, because yeah, I mean, it was great.
I mean, I
They
don't blame the actors. You know, I'm not saying it's their fault, but I think it's a case of, you know, if the studio that you've got an agreement to sign, because I mean, I don't know whether Chris Pine had an agreement to do a fourth film or not. But the long and short of it is, I mean, he should have really, if he had, really not been so greedy. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you can guarantee that Patrick Stewart isn't getting paid A-list film money for doing his TV series.
But he's British, so that's okay. He's not interested in money. He's interested in the betterment of the Queen.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure this is for the.
Well, he is a sir.
He is.
But no, you know what I mean. I mean, I guess it's a 50-50 place of blame, really. But I don't really overtly blame Paramount for wanting to try and renegotiate a contract. It happens all the time.
Absolutely, and I do. Need
and
to
if all of them, apart
thing.
from those two, can agree to it, I mean, even Zoe Saldana, you know, has pretty much said yes, and the rest of them, you know, and then you come down to those two. Chris Hemsworth, I kind of get, you know, because he is as big as he is, but Chris Pine.
Well, Chris Hemsworth, he actually didn't come back to the movie simply because he's taking a break from acting for a little while to be with his family, working on all the Thor movies and the Avenger films and everything else in between. He said that he was getting burned out and he wanted to spend some time with family. And when they announced, you know, oh, Chris Hemsworth is coming back as George Kirk for this fourth movie, he was the first one to drop out. And I believe I remember reading it wasn't a matter of money. It was a matter of he wanted to live up to his statement of I want to spend some time with my family, which is absolutely understandable.
Yeah, absolutely agree. But then again, you know, if there's no, it's not a question. And again, if there's going to be no fourth movie, it's not because of a lack of will. It's just because of bad circumstances. Like, there will be another Star Trek movie eventually. Like,
whether it's whether it's in the Kelvin timeline or a different timeline or the Prime timeline, we have to wait and see.
Yeah, and you know, we're talking about acquisitions earlier. It's going to be interesting. Like, if CBS is acquired by another movie studio, like let's say Lionsgate, would then the movie licensing be renegotiated? Would CBS want to remove the license from Paramount and give it to Lionsgate instead? And I think then they might be. That's
not a case of licensing, though. I mean, yeah, there is a license there in regards to a sub-license, so to speak, that Paramount have with Bad Robot. But Paramount do own IP. They own the IP.
I'm pretty
films.
sure the full. Again, you know, it's a lawyer thing, and I think that's something that our friend, Mr. Colonist on Twitter, could help us on, because he's an actual entertainment lawyer. But from what I understand, is there's still kind like Paramount has distribution rights for the existing movies, but the right for future movies is still kind of licensed from CBS. I mean, I could be wrong, and that, folks, is something my Midnight's Edge will never tell you. I could be wrong, but from what that's something.
Any Midnight's Edge won't tell you, but you know.
Speaking of, I think we can address. You want to talk about Ketwolski's kind of video?
You can if you want.
I mean,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You know, because I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. He kind of shown a video. He made a video kind of to take the piss out of Midnight's Edge a little bit. You know, saying like, "What's the sauce? What's the sauce?" And he kind of made a follow up, which I gotta admit I was a little disappointed. Because he didn't go like take the piss as much as in the first video. He basically, the whole message of the video is I can't prove them wrong, but not necessarily like they are Like, I can't prove them wrong, but I can't prove them right either. And basically, folks, go and do your own research and make up your own ideas. That was like the message of the whole video that he did. I encourage everyone to go see it. It was still good, but yeah, that was. It's if the video you're watching or if what you're reading go like really flatter. Not I would say flatter as you go, but goes a little too much into what you're thinking already. They might be playing on your expectations and might be playing on your hopes of seeing. If you see an article that says Discovery is going to get canceled and you hate Discovery, of course you're going to click on it. It's going to become a big echo chamber of validating your own opinions. And even though I don't really, I'm not the biggest fan of Kit Wolski, given his past comments and past and present associations with other YouTubers, I still agree with the message. Go challenge do your own research and challenge your opinions every once in a while. It's healthy.
It's confirmation bias. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of those things that even I, in some respects, can be guilty of it in certain things. You do go out to find information that confirms either what you already think or what you believe. And when you come across something you don't, you kind of dismiss it. But I'm one of those people that I read a lot. And then sometimes I get a bit miffed about what I do read because it doesn't confirm what I already thought. But then at the end of the day, I mean, like anything, you should always research.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Research, especially if you're going to try and pass something off as factual or, try and make clickbait money off it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
yeah.
But anyway, moving on.
Speaking on the shadowy side of things, we should probably move to our next topic, which is Section 31.
Oh, yes. The more mysterious version of Section 29.
Unless James has more news for us, but
no, I mean it is pretty quiet. I think the next big things that we're likely to hear is if Discovery gets a Series 3.
I believe I saw something about that earlier, that they were talking about Series 3, but I didn't actually read it.
No, I mean nothing's been officially confirmed. It's not been officially ordered, but there are pretty much. Both the two leads, Alex Kurtzman and I can't remember the lady's name, said that they were already laying. Yeah, they were already laying the
groundwork.
Yeah,
which will be great. I'm always for more Discovery. I'm highly enjoying it myself. I can tell the same from you guys that you guys are enjoying it as well. Excited for the new stuff coming up, but this last episode. We saw a vastly different 31 than we have in previous Treks. They're out in the frickin' open.
I wouldn't say open. Like
okay, let me rephrase.
They're open.
They're out in the open to everyone in Starfleet. Everybody knows about them.
Then again, you don't know. Like you've seen a high rank. I would say some high ranked officers. Don't forget, Burnham is still a full fledged commander. She was first officer. She was privy to a lot of info. And the other person who acknowledged the existence of 31 was Captain Pike, a seasoned captain. And let's not forget that Discovery is a supposed top secret vessel.
Yeah, well, I mean, I sent you some pictures earlier.
Yeah, and let's switch to them. Yeah, there you go. Well, no, that's not that. That's the website. There you go. That's the yeah. There we go. Wrong website. No, but yeah. So yeah, we got the black badge.
But just the way the things are going. It just seems like 31 is more common knowledge than this super secretive organization that nobody is supposed to know about, but knows about. This literally, Giorgio was walking through the ship, and the Black Badger's there. I mean, you even had Ash Tyler back wearing the badge, and those Black Badges were also in season 1 aboard Discovery. So
yeah, and don't forget when the prisoners came on board, he said a Black Badge. I've never seen one of those before. So there are people out there who don't actually know what they are.
Fair enough, but they definitely seem more out in the open. Like they're less afraid of showing themselves within the Federation.
Within Starfleet.
Yes. I mean, the 31 ship, I'm not going to say decloaked because it's not really a cloaking device.
De-hologrammed?
Do you remember that there was a Star Trek game called Star Trek Away Team?
Yes.
It was USS Incursion was in that, and it was fitted with a holographic matrix that could become ships, objects, and that sort of thing. So that's what kind of that reminded me of.
Well, I actually could talk about that because I saw this today and wanted to bring it up. A video on YouTube just randomly popped up on my recommendations, and it was a flashback to Enterprise with the Romulan holocloak, where I believe it was the 2 episodes with the Andorian pilot, and the ship could take on the appearance of any ship that it wanted. And in this case, it was being used by the 31 ship. So it's logical to assume that when those ships were destroyed, 31 got their hands on the tech.
Wouldn't be surprised.
And then obviously you've got the whole thing of it's a comm badge as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, I like Pike's reaction. What kind of communicator is that?
That was fun. That was nice. Just a few examples. MI5 was not supposed to exist officially for the longest of times. Same with the NSA, and I think it's going to be it's kind of that in that kind of situation. It's kind of like, what are you talking about? Of course it doesn't exist, with a huge grin on your face,
But I mean, you've got to compare it to the fact that, so Section 31 in the 24th century was this big clandestine organization no one knew about. Well, the Obsidian Order and the Tal Shiar are basically what Section 31 is. And everyone knew who they were. So is it really hard to believe that, that suddenly we are seeing more of a public face of Section 31,
and especially in that area of the Star Trek universe, the Federation is in full expansion. It's hitting probably, I would say, like hitting a lot of borders, hitting a lot of potential conflicts with other races and other civilizations, and you would want Section 31 there to kind of smooth anything that could, cause issues. And I could see why in the 24th century you wouldn't want that. The Federation I kind of reached is, I wouldn't say its limit, but it's kind of...
It's at its peak.
There, it's at its peak.
I mean, I think Edgerton said it the best. Why would anyone want to leave paradise?
Yeah.
Mm.
And, and I think that's... If anything, we're going to see... The Section 31 show is going to be a little bit like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's going to be what was actually organized organization with official recognition is going to have to go underground following an incident, and then them continuing their mission, even though they don't have the official backing of the governing body anymore. So I think I've probably said that before, but I'm waiting to see Agent Phil Coulson on the bridge of the Section 31 ship.
I mean,
but
if you compare Section 31 in Discovery, Enterprise, and DS9, and then you compare it to what we saw in Into Darkness,
They're
the way they
all-
were. They're all different, but
Yeah, they're all different.
You know, but they're not as different as they were in Into Darkness. I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly have never seen someone suicide bomb, which is what they did in Into Darkness, and but again,
well, you got to remember the suicide bomb that was outside of 31. That was John Harrison recruiting this guy.
Not Khan.
To blow up this thing to enact his revenge. In return, he gets to save the guy's daughter.
But
so that wasn't really 31 with the suicide bombing. That was Khan's plot.
Yeah. And a thing that a lot of people forget is that information that we know, that coming from DS9, it was an unreliable source. Could you actually believe what Sloan said about Section 31?
From what we saw, I don't think so. At least, him blowing it out of proportion, I can get that. But from what we saw in DS9, it looked like 31 was pretty much on its last legs.
Yeah. I could see it as like it still has some kind of... Because admirals were... Like, Starfleet Command is aware of them. And they were visibly willing to give him a pass.
Well, yeah, I mean, Admiral Ross.
Yeah.
That's Section 31, so it's not unheard of for certain Starfleet officers to be in the know.
So I could see, like, Starfleet Command, after a certain point where you realize, Section 31 is not that necessary anymore and it kind of gives us a bad rap. Okay, well, let's delegitimize them, but, let's keep a certain core alive, just... and put them, like, let's bury them, erase all history of them, because especially in this digital age where we live off the internet and stuff like and digital information, if you manage to remove all historical information in the databases about something, give it a generation or even just a few years and everyone will have forgotten about them.
Yeah. But progressing between the series, I could see the progression of them becoming semi obsolete. If we go from chronology, Section 31 in Enterprise technically isn't Section 31 because it's in the Federation Charter.
No, it's in the Starfleet Charter.
It's the Starfleet. It's in the Starfleet one. Okay.
Article 14, Section 31, which allows extraordinary measures to be taken at times of extreme threat.
Okay. So let me rethink my process here. So in Enterprise, you're just getting started. So you really don't know what's out there yet, with the exception of the Vulcans, the Denobulans, and... Well, that's really it at the beginning of Enterprise. By the end of Enterprise, you get the grand scheme of things like, ooh, space is not nice. So by the time we get to Discovery, you're going to need a system like that in place. So they've got a more outreach, and they're probably a little bit more well-known to Starfleet, even in the lower ranks. Something to strive for, especially given that the fact that they just got out of a war with the Klingons. Section 31 would be more needed at that point. Never saw
even
anything.
In Enterprise, Section 31 was in league with the Klingons. I mean, they're the ones that helped the Klingon.
Horrible set of episodes. That was a huge mistake. But
they're the ones that helped the Klingons kidnap Phlox to help treat the Orgma virus.
Yep, but even then, it wasn't as widespread. Whereas you could see in Discovery that they're a little bit more widespread. They have wider influence because I don't even remember them even having a ship in Enterprise. Whereas here in Discovery, not only do they have this ship, but it's also got a hollow projector on the outside that makes it look like...
Let me ask you a question, Jeff.
And
let me ask you a question. How do you think Sloan got on DS9?
How?
Yeah.
I hadn't gotten that far. Obviously still have some resources, but in Discovery they're going to have a lot more resources, a lot more political backing from Starfleet and the Federation.
But then again,
by the time you get to DS9, those resources are probably going to be dried up, still available, but still dried up, because we only ever saw Sloan. We never saw full crews like we do on Discovery. Although
in David Mack's books Control, available in your bookstore now, they do have a ship. Actually, I do have.
But it's book. Can it be considered canon? We're going off of what we've seen in the show. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to knock
31 when he kidnapped Bashir. Bashir was in the holodeck, so they must have had ships then as well.
Oh, I'm not saying that they didn't have ships. I'm just saying it's not as widespread. You can even hear it in some of the conversations,
But then again,
what's 31? Why would you be recruited by this super secret organization? Whereas in Discovery, I mean, you have as you pointed out, you had a captain, you had an admiral, and you had a previous XO that were aware of 31's existence. Whereas in DS9, nobody had a clue.
Well,
you can see the progression of them becoming obsolete throughout the series.
And as I said, it kind of, to me, I kind of see the same kind of prediction. I draw parallels with Shield, and so something's going to happen. They're going to get disavowed, and they're going to kind of erase all traces. But there's going to be a kind of core of admirals who say, we still need them, and they're still necessary. And we'll see. I mean, that could be. It could take a whole lot of different. But then again, it goes with the fanon, canon, and head canon. It's like it's up to the fans to fill up the blanks. And I agree. Like, while it could be jarring to see like stuff like something like Section 31 be that open, it's not unexplainable. And there's 1,000 ways you can explain off. Like we as a collective, resistance is futile. Have we have collectively decided that V'ger was came from the Borg, or a proto version of the Borg. Even though that's totally bonkers, and I don't really agree with that.
Well, it is in a Shatner book.
Yeah, but that's a Shatner book.
It might have been a Shatner book, but it was a really well written Shatner book. Okay, I mean, I've read it. It wasn't that bad. It was much better than The Final Frontier.
But still, I mean, it was also in the Star Trek video game, Star Trek Legacy. FYI, but
yes, great game. But yes,
yes, I got one of the first games I got for the Xbox 360 10 years ago. Like more than 10 years ago. Oh my God, I'm old.
I got it for the PC, but my first Star Trek game was Star Trek Armada.
Yeah, I think when mine was like, I would say, I could go way back and say like the Starfleet mission simulator thing on a Commodore 64.
Yeah, you're not
but the one
old.
yeah, actually I do have
I hear stuff rattling around. He's getting something.
Just hold on. I do have.
Looks like he's got a well comfortable chair as well. I
do have my own Commodore 64 here, along with a very nice British-made SD card reader for Commodore 64, which makes the whole ordeal of loading games, including a few Star Trek titles, onto it very, very much easier. But yeah, so speaking of games, yeah, that was my first. I had to show it. I do love my Commodore 64. It is, even though that's not the version I had. That's the Commodore 64C, which was a kind of a remake. Well, like they remade the case and But I do have like what they call the bread bin C64, which was kind of the original brown one. I got to do some work on it, but eventually it's gonna, gonna learn.
I'm laughing at Christian's comment on the chat. Easy, I'm crossing 50 here.
Yeah.
No judgments on age, Christian.
But the game I remember most fondly was really Elite Force, I think, for me.
Yes, Elite Force had and still has a long tenure. People still play the RPGX mod on Elite Force multiplayer. So talk about a game that'll never die.
The game that I remember most fondly, though, Star Trek Bridge Commander.
Oh my God, he said the magic words.
I mean, you give a bunch of Trekkies a software development kit for your game. I mean, the stuff we had for that game, like they managed to fix and enhance that game 1,000 times over. Like
Kobayashi Maru mod.
Sorry.
Like
Star Trek Bridge Commander. It was
so basically they gave the keys to the car to the Star Trek fans. An SDK is a software development kit, and they made it available on their website, saying, "Fans, here you can mod the game as much as you want. Here's the tools to do whatever you want with it." And
now, for those that have never played Bridge Commander, which I believe, James, you just said, what is Bridge Commander?
I know what it is.
You know what it is.
Yeah, I just didn't know what game you were referring to.
But yeah, for those that don't know what Star Trek Bridge Commander is, here's a parallel for you. A really bad parallel, but a parallel. Star Trek Bridge Crew, the VR game that came out, is a very, very, very dumbed down version of Bridge Commander. You assume the role of a bridge commander, and you get to give orders to your crew, whether it be the tactical officer, the helm officer, the science officer, the tactical officer, or the engineer officer, and you got to literally take command. It had a very, very well thought out campaign with multiple endings. Mm-hmm. One of the first games with multiple endings, if I remember correctly. But the modding community behind it was. There's only two words I can describe the modding community behind it. Holy Jesus. Thousands upon thousands of mods for that game came out, ranging from simple reskins of the characters all the way up to, what was the last release of Kobayashi Maru? 1.1, which was a 1.5 gigabyte mod for the game that
twice as big as the original game was fit on a regular CD was 600 megs.
Yep, and then this thing added another 1.5 gigs to it, which it expanded on what was already there by a factor of 10. You could do scenarios. You could actually, I believe in the last release that they put out, you could actually do a galactic war type deal where you could actually warp to the different systems and have a war between whoever. It was just a mind blowing game. And if anybody can get their hands on a copy of it these days, 10 out of 10 would recommend playing. A lot of fun, especially if you can get access to some of the mods that were out there.
I mean, one thing they did that really blew my mind is the multi-vector attack mode. They managed to do the saucer separation, which, in the game, you had you started out with
Galaxy class,
and in the game, you couldn't natively do the saucer separation, which is one of the most iconic things you can do with a Galaxy class starship.
Yep, and then Kobayashi Maru added that option to do it, and it wasn't saucer separation.
Kobayashi Maru is an amalgam, is a collective of different mods.
It is. Yeah, I thought it was its own thing, with just everybody collaborating.
They took basically Kobayashi Maru is the best of all the mods.
Ah, okay.
And probably, and then some, but then you could one thing they added also different bridges. Like I remember, like you had the NX-01 bridge, you had the Enterprise
Voyager
A bridge, Voyager. Basically, all the major bridges were there.
Yep. And then there was a few custom ones. I remember there was a Star Destroyer one if you wanted to do Star Wars versus Star Trek type deal.
I remember a few. There were a few Babylon 5 also. But yeah, good. Those were the days. But it's still there.
Yes.
I cannot say where, but actually I was able to download Koyabashi Maru, and I was surprised to see that it came with the actual game. I'm not sure about the legality of it.
There was a release, very, very limited release on Amazon, eBay. I want to say 10, 12 years ago, where it was a re-release of the game, which had an extra disc in it that contained the Kobayashi Maru 1.0
mod. It was
mod.
most likely bootleg stuff, but yeah.
No, it wasn't bootleg. It was a re-release by the Activision and
Really?
I forgot the other companies behind it, but it was a very limited re-release. It was basically the equivalent of a collector's edition because you got the game, you got the soundtrack, and then you had the Kobayashi Maru mod included for free. But it was very limited. There was a very small number of copies.
I'm very curious about it because I know things between CBS Paramount and Activision did not end well. Like it was.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of the cataclysms for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if anybody can get a copy of it, nowadays and get it to run because it's so old, kudos for you. You don't know what you're missing out on. If you can't get a copy of it, there are multiple long plays on YouTube.
Yeah.
And because I was reading something completely different. What game are you talking about?
still the Bridge Commander game.
Bridge Commander. Seriously?
Yeah. There's a lot. I spent. Oh my god! My whole. Basically,
I spent at least a good 2 years. I spent a good at least 2 years playing the crap out of that game in total time. So many memories from that game. I mean, just being able to do a quick battle and spawning whatever ships you want and just watch them duking it out. Absolute fun. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it was rather entertaining to watch a fleet of NXL-1s go up against a Borg cube.
I never did that. For that game, I played the story mission.
Oh, well, I mean, I played the story mission.
Yeah,
I played the story bit too, but the quick battles with the mods added a whole another level of replay, and it was fun to watch a fleet of NX-01s and other Enterprise era ships go up against a first contact cube. Suffice to say, Starfleet did not win that day.
And well, today I can do that with my Star Trek attack wing ships, but needs a whole lot more setup because damn miniatures.
But is there really anything else to talk about with Section 31? I mean,
really? I've just been skimming to see if there's any new news.
The only news that I've heard personally lately, just because I got it in an email, is that Star Trek Adventures, the tabletop game.
Yes,
I guess they've got a new expansion coming out.
Well, they got the Sciences Division book coming out to add to the Command Division, and is it Engineering? Or is it the Operations Division? Sorry. So there's basically is going to complete the set. They're going to have the Alpha Quadrant source book to come with the already existing Beta Quadrant source book. And they're going to have
Strange New Worlds. Yep.
These are the Voyagers, Volume 2, which is a set of pre-made missions for the game. Actually, I have all those books in my shelf also. Never had the occasion to play, but damn, I love those books.
Well, actually,
I just found
some information about the Star Trek official Starships collection done by Eagle Moss.
Oh yes.
You got some money to throw out the window?
They're bringing some new ships in. Doesn't say. Okay. Basically, you got the Nightingale from Voyager, the one that's kind of like a mix between the Marquis Raider and.
I think it was a reuse of the Marquis ship, basically. Yeah.
And you've got the First Federation ship. You know, the big ball of light.
Yeah. Oh, the Visarius.
Visarius, yeah.
You get
what was reused as the Mirrodon Raider in DS9, the one that was originally from Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
Jemadar warship.
Cool.
I mean, I applaud the people who are subscribed to that and received all the ships, because it takes a lot of space on your shelf after like 10 or 15 ships. How can you actually manage to still have a relationship with someone else and have like
easy
cases?
You turn around and tell them, look, I could be addicted to something so much worse.
See, I've never seen see if I can. I'm going to put a link in the chat stream. I've never seen this variant of the Miranda before.
All right. Before we continue on, thank you for joining us tonight, Christian. Great questions. Hope that you're going to join us again next week when we come back on Tuesday. So, again, thank you for being here tonight. You have a good night.
Thanks, Christian.
But yeah, so let's see.
You ever seen that variant of the Miranda before?
Let me take a look at this.
Apparently, according to this...
What is that?
Apparently, it's the USS Antares from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Favor of the Bold. I've never, ever seen that.
Maybe a kit bash they did that was way, way, way in the background.
Look at like the top of those. This is from Eagle Moss.
Yeah. Like
the official Starships collection.
It's one thing about Eagle Moss, what they do is except there's a few exceptions. Most of the ships they do, well, all of the ships they do, except for the Enterprise F and maybe a few others, they're all canon. They all been on screen, including the monstrosity that is the USS Yeager. That was kind of a mix between the Maquis Raider and the front of a Star Trek, the USS Voyager, and it was just like a kit bash. And I think this is another case of kit bashing. Like pretty much every other ship that basically was like meant to be like.
I do have to point out that it is on Memory Alpha. It is a very freaking fuzzy image, but it is there. Yeah, it is on screen.
I mean, after 130 issues of ships, at one point you're gonna have to scrape the bottom of the barrel.
Absolutely, but
yeah, I mean, I think about 6 months ago they did a poll of fans to see what ships they wanted to be brought out and stuff. And some of them were like really obscure and stuff, but like everyone kept saying the Ares from Axanar, and I was just thinking, yeah, when Hell freezes over.
Yeah. Well, it's not an official ship. I mean,
while it is
a cool design, it's subject of debate.
Litigation.
I use the word debate, but that works too.
No, I mean, to be fair, the ship is nice.
What, the Antares?
No,
the Ares.
The Ares.
And I was going to say, I'm very disappointed with the Antares.
Was it designed by Tobias Richter?
Nope, it was Sean. I can't pronounce his surname. He designed the Titan.
Oh, okay, yeah. Tourangeau, yeah, Sean Tourangeau, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I just got to point out one thing. I want to try to remain as impartial as I can about Axanar, just because I am going to be one of those people that watches whatever comes out from them because it's more Trek. I don't mean to make waves about it.
Everyone will watch it, but
I don't want to endorse it, but I don't want to trash talk it at the same time, because while it was a matter of debate and legal issue, there is talent behind it that is very dedicated to bringing it out. And
the thing is, the talent was everywhere, but in Alex Peters. And
I'm going to remain impartial.
True.
And now we've been we're in the crosshairs now.
I'm not saying anything bad about it, but I'm not going to say anything, overly good about it. But what I have seen come out of it the last few days, because I am the fan guy, I am going to watch all the fan stuff.
You've seen the unreleased stuff that was made by Tobias Rector and scripted by Rob Burnett and directed by Rob Burnett.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, zero input from His Majesty Mr. Peters.
Majesty.
Keeper of the faith.
Partial. But I also have another stake in Axanar, simply because it was one of the last things that Richard Hatch was in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He Battlestar Galactica, in my second number one favorite show. It was one of the last things that he acted in, so I have to appreciate his hard work, despite all the negativity behind it.
I understand the sentimentality behind it, but as I said, the issue is the talent is not with that project anymore. They've all moved on. Everyone that made it good is not there anymore.
True, but there are.
Even the set designers left. Dean Newbury, he left.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't some of the on-screen talent remain? I mean, they just released an interview with J.G. Hertzler on YouTube. They've got this whole. I don't know how much you guys have been following it, but Alec Peters and Axanar have been releasing stuff on YouTube, and one of them was with J.G. Hertzler recently. I haven't had a chance to watch that one yet. So I mean. The creative talent behind it may have disappeared,
but
the on-screen talent has remained somewhat.
Yeah, but what are actors with shit? With crappy, basically everything else. I mean,
I do have to argue against that one right there, because that Star Trek Continues was written by an actor.
Yeah, I mean, an actor who probably had input from professionals. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what Paul Jenkins did for if ever they manage to go into actual production. We'll see. And I'll keep an open mind.
From what they've said, they plan on releasing 2 30-minute episodes.
Yeah. I mean,
two 30-minute episodes.
Yeah, 2 30-minute episodes, which they talked to CBS about and got the thumbs up from.
Yeah, as I said, go ahead, make them. Stop trying to take a piss on CBS and try to, basically, because what he's doing right now and what's really poor in reflection to I'm talking about Peters specifically, is he's trying to get the angry at CBS crowd to back him, to get money that somehow disappeared. Well, 1.2
They're not taking any donations or anything, as far as I'm aware. It's all coming out of their own personal pocket.
They opened a Patreon.
And they do super chats on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't know about those, so the more you know. But
yeah, and there's still a lot of dodgy stuff. So instead of, because basically the message, if by any chance, might be watching that, but stop trying to take a shit on Star Trek and on CBS. Just do the fucking thing. You said, he said all he needs is a green screen and actors. He said, like, the whole bridge set was like an afterthought. Maybe it's going to be there. Maybe it's going to.
I do have to point out that has been successful with some other fan productions.
Again, I
to
don't,
be spitting
I don't
to be
disagree.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
But to spit on the faces on those that want that physical appearance of things, it just seems like you're taking the easy way out. And as I said, I want to try to remain as impartial as possible.
Yeah, but as I said,
it
just
would work
his
with actors and green screens, but there is something special about being able to see something physical and not something that's been CG'd in front of somebody or green screen behind them.
I agree, but for now, he's actually been quoted to say like the 30 minutes are going to be mostly green screen stuff and maybe some flashbacks on the Iris Bridge.
See, I'd still like to know, what did he say in one of his live streams about the 30 minutes? Because according to the legal settlement, he's only allowed to do 2 15-minute episodes.
It wasn't a live stream. It was one of his little behind the scenes shorts, and I believe he said that it was 2 30-minute episodes that was approved by CBS. They sat down and they talked it over.
But anyway, as I said,
I could be mishearing it. I'll go back and rewatch and confirm again next week.
Yeah, but basically the message is stop trying to get in bed with Midnight's Edge and all the other Discovery haters and just do the fucking thing. That's all I have to say about that.
While they are trying to get the haters and everything, they are doing the thing. It's just taking a kind of a negative route with it. They are doing a thing. They are doing the thing. It's just they're not doing it the right way.
See, I think half the issue with the entire situation is I mean, how did he just shut up from day one when he was sued and let that all play out, shut up, and then actually when he, it was settled or whatever, continued to shut up and basically film what he was, people paid like over 1.5 million for. And
apparently that 1.5 million went to legal fees.
No,
and we were supposed to be represented pro bono.
No, the legal fees thing, that's just a rumor I've heard. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We shouldn't even be talking about Axanar and Peters don't even deserve the airtime we give it, but it's
it is an open discussion.
Yeah, but it's still he who shall not be named technically, and I've made the mistake of naming him and bringing it up. See, and now Voldemort is inside the house.
Anyway, on that note, I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours.
I want to take a moment to just to ask while we're on screen if anybody that is watching, if they'd like to hear more about the fan, production side of things, reviews, brief synopsis, give a shout to either the Treksphere site or you can message me privately on Facebook. Just let us know or let me know if you want to hear more of that, because I'm always willing to talk about them. And if you've got suggestions on stuff for me to listen to and review, I'd be more than happy to do that as well.
Sounds good.
Just to get more content here for Treksphere Live.
That's always good. That's always good.
So on that note, then.
Yeah, let's finish that up. Thank you everyone for like the 4 people that stayed with us for the full 2 hours, and everyone else that's listening on the recorded version. So thank you very much for listening, and talk to you next week. Ciao.
See you later.
See you later, everybody.